Hi, it's the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your January 2017 general reading. And thank you so much for joining me today. This is a general reading, which is why we always tell you to check your rising and your moon sign as well. You may find that they resonate for you a little more predictively this month, or by watching all three, your sun, moon, and rising, you'll get different pieces of the picture and different bits of insight. So it puts together a more clear and cohesive picture of the time frame ahead that the reading covers. So check all three if you can. Thank you always. A note of gratitude to those of you who continue to watch and listen and subscribe to my channel, and welcome to all the newcomers here. Thank you to all of you who continue to reach out for personal one-on-one readings. It's an honor and a pleasure always to read for you, and I'm grateful for the trust that you put in me to interpret and intuit the cards for you. And if anyone is interested in a personal one-on-one reading, you can click on the little About button on my YouTube channel's homepage, which will give you a little more information in detail, and my email address, which is maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. If you're interested, send me an email and we will go from there. I would be delighted to work with you, or anyone else if you'd like to purchase a gift reading for someone else. I offer a variety of different lengths and types of reading, as well as a 24 card spread, yearly overview, and outlook, which is always popular this time of year as we're heading into the new year. I do readings full time, 6 days a week, so I'm able to get back with you pretty quickly. Current turnaround time is anywhere from a couple of days upwards of a couple of weeks, but almost always within 2 weeks we can schedule you a reading, so live or recorded. So if you're interested, send me an email and we will go from there. So moving right along into this reading is for Virgo for January 2017. What is in store for the Earth sign of Virgo for January 2017, the first month of the new year? January 2017 for our Virgos. What do they need to see? What do they need to know? Okay, we begin with the Three of Cups and the World. What a great combination of cards to begin the new year with, Virgo. After that, we have the Five of Swords with the Seven of Swords. We have the Fool and Death. That's a pretty powerful combination of major arcana energy there. And at or towards the end of January 2017, we have the Five of Cups with the Two of Wands. And from the bottom of the deck as overall energy and advice, we have the Six of Swords. So the overall energy is a transitional energy of moving into a more healing and peaceful place, which is appropriate for those of you who are closing out chapters and ending cycles in your life as the old year draws to a close and the new year starts, particularly for those of you who are making resolutions and setting fresh goals and paths ahead. So let's just take a look here. I get the feeling that a lot of you watching have cut yourself free from something, a person, a relationship, or even a group of people. For some of you, this could be a situation, a job or work environment as well, or a project that you're leaving where perhaps you weren't happy or weren't being told everything that you needed to know. How it specifically plays out is going to vary per person because there's so many of you watching, so it's not going to play out the same for everyone, although the fundamental energy remains the same. We start January 2017, Virgo, with some beautiful celebratory energy, spending time with people that you feel very comfortable and connected to. We begin with the Three of Cups. Cups is water energy, which is the element that governs the suit of cups. Cups is all about emotions, feelings, relationships, and love, how we relate to people in our lives, both personal and more external. The Three of Cups is a celebratory card. It can speak of actual celebratory events, parties. And we did just last night, this is New Year's Day, so we did just celebrate and are celebrating the new year. So this could represent that some of you are ending the old year and beginning the new year, spending it surrounded by friends and family, people you feel very connected with. The fundamental energy of the Three of Cups is enjoying the time you spend with a group of people that you feel very connected, comfortable, authentic with, kind of a kinship, kindred spirit kind of energy, and really celebrating that and having a very good time together. And giving thanks and feeling quite blessed for all the gifts that you have in your life, but particularly in the form of people and relationships. Now, the Three of Cups is paired with the World card, Major Arcana card, and you do have three Major Arcana cards out of nine. So, pretty significant Major Arcana energy, God, Spirit, your angels, guides. The World card, this celebratory energy and beginning the new year, feeling really blessed and surrounded by people that you connect with, Uh, that you feel very good with, has left you feeling on top of the world, which is what the world card represents. But this is also a card of completion. It's the last card in the tarot deck, and it represents having come to a completion point, a point of accomplishment, kind of like reaching the top of a mountain, and you stop and pause to reflect for a minute, look back over everything that it's taken to get you from where you started to where you are today, just beginning to come to a deeper understanding and awareness that you've made it this far, that you've made it to this kind of pivotal point in your life, and having some appreciation and acknowledgement and for what you're able to accomplish, perhaps even things that you didn't think you were going to be able to accomplish, or things that you didn't think you were going to be able to get through, but you did, and wondering what you might yet be capable of in the future. It's kind of that pause in between place, and you have this energy a little further on in the reading too with the Fool and the Death card. It's a closing. It's kind of like you've reached a point where you've ended a certain portion of your life or closed out a certain chapter that was very important or significant, and you're taking stock of it and reflecting and acknowledging and in a kind of a self-empowering sort of way, everything that it took, everything that you invested, taking the good out of it, leaving the negative behind, and considering what you're going to do as you move forward. Now, next to that, we have the Five of Swords with the Seven of Swords. So with swords, we have air energy here, which is the element that governs the suit of swords. And swords is a the energy of the suit of swords is mental, cerebral, intellectual energy. It's about what goes on up in our heads, how we see things, our perspectives, perceptions, outlooks, belief systems, words, ideas, communication. It's about how we think and how we see things, and how we communicate that to other people. The Five of Swords can be a card of conflict. The number five can be a card of instability or conflict. The Five of Swords does technically represent a victory. As you can see on this card, this man has just finished a battle or a war or a challenge of some kind, and he's been victorious. His opponents or enemies, or whatever it was that he's been battling, what these people represent, excuse me, are on the ground. He has gathered up all of their weapons, and he's holding his own sword aloft in victory. But the picture on this card, the general feeling and the colors are still kind of grim and murky and a bit bleak. It is he has won, and it does represent a victory. But sometimes the Five of Swords can represent a shallow victory, a victory that may not have been worth the effort that was put into it, and a victory that can sometimes represent coming at the cost of personal relationships or personal integrity. And the question that always accompanies the Five of Swords is it worth it? This battle has cost this man a lot. He looks tired and weary, exhausted. He's bleeding from a little cut on his forehead. Whatever it took to win this battle was a lot, and you have to ask yourself, has it been worth it? And sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes it's no. Particularly again, if it comes at the cost of personal relationships or at your own personal integrity. So depending on what's going on in the lives of you that are watching it, you'll have to make that determination for yourself. Now, what is this in reference to? Well, again, it's going to play out differently and split off differently. Uh, but the Five of Swords is accompanied by the Seven of Swords. So this victory, this conflict or challenge that you've come through or have just finished wrapping up or are wrapping up, We have the energy of the Seven of Swords here. Now, the Seven of Swords is often referred to as the thief card because it does depict somebody who's come in and stolen actual physical property. And this can represent theft of actual tangible property, money, finances, items, something like that, embezzlement. It can also represent someone, either you or someone else, being deceptive, being sneaky, not revealing everything that should be revealed, not being transparent. There's kind of a slippery, sneaky, deceptive feeling, things being hidden or veiled, someone presenting themselves or a situation to be something different than what it actually really is. Um, there is an energy of dishonesty and secrecy around the Seven of Swords. So here's where the story is going to split off with this combination of the Five of Swords and the Seven of Swords. For some of you, this victory is going to be over something that happened to you, perhaps. Some of you, because I feel like there was a cutting loose of something, a turning your back and closing the chapter on something in your life in a pretty big way. For some of you, this is going to be a relationship with a person, uh, or a group of people, or it could be a job or work situation or environment or project where you were working with other people, where things came out that you weren't aware of in the beginning. You find out that something was vastly different than how it was presented to you in the beginning, whether that was a work, job, career, project with a person or other people, or even in a more personal relationship where perhaps it was love or romance based, or with a very good friend or best friend, where you find out perhaps that there's been some deception, some sneakiness, some lying. Uh, the Seven of Swords can represent being taken advantage of, being exploited, or just finding yourself in a situation where you feel you're giving and giving and giving, and somebody else or someone else or a situation is taking and taking from you, and you're not getting anything back, leaving you feeling kind of depleted and empty and exhausted and drained and taken advantage of. The story's going to split off a variety of different ways, but the energy remains the same. There is you've whatever this situation represents for each of you watching, for whom this resonates. Um, there's been a victory over it, meaning that your eyes were opened about it, you found out about it, and although it feels like it may have it, coming to a resolution or a closure or a decision about what to do with it may have cost quite a bit. I feel like for some of you, the ability to deal with it and move on involved cutting yourself free from it or having to turn your back on a person, a group of people, a situation of some kind. It feels like this was something that you came through not unscathed. There were some wounds in it, and it cost quite a bit. For others of you, this could represent, I mean, this could work the other way too. This could be some of you were doing something perhaps not, completely above board, something sneaky, deceptive. Um, you got away with it, or you put yourself forward and won, but it came at the cost of personal relationships or friendships of some kind. So, this is you kind of want to keep your eyes open, be vigilant against that kind of area. It's not always the best thing to rise to the top when you have to do it at the cost of compromising your own personal integrity, because it can always work both ways. Not only something that's happened to you or been done to you or something that you found out about, but you could have been the protagonist in this as well. So just something to be aware of and keep your eye on. For a smaller portion of you, this victory or achievement, whatever it was that cost so much, was because you were very clever about how you went about navigating your way through something. Because the Seven of Swords, the Thief card, sometimes gets a bad rap. It's not always, it doesn't always need to be in a negative light. Sometimes the Seven of Swords can represent needing to be very clever, somewhat sneaky, but not in a harmful, evil kind of way, needing to be very clever about how you go about doing something, orchestrating something, maybe going off the grid and considering a more creative approach to it. So it can represent that too for some of you, although I feel it's a smaller portion of you. But whatever it is, it looks like it came at quite a high cost. And for a lot of you, I feel like um, getting through this and making a decision about it and achieving resolution meant that you had to and a relationship or a connection with a person or a group of people or a situation. Now, moving forward, we have that closing off. So now what's left? The ground's being cleared now. We have a very powerful combination of two major arcana cards. Next, we have the Fool, accompanied by Death. So death is this is death, transformation, a cycle coming to an end, but in a pretty big part of your life, or whatever it is that you've achieved victory over, or won, or finished. It was pretty important. It was pretty significant and profound in your life. A pretty important chapter of your life has come to an end. A relationship, a situation, a job, a career path, perhaps for some of you, has come to an end because that's what death represents, the complete ending of cycle, the ground being cleared, everything being ripped up and moved off so that you can have uh, a clear ground, clear foundation to build upon again, because birth always follows death, beginnings always follow endings. This is about the ground being cleared out, and sometimes that can be an uncomfortable or even painful process, but necessary as well. So whatever this is that has come to an end, and rather appropriately as we're beginning a new year, the ground is now clear for you to rebuild and go in another direction, even though, again, it looks like it was quite challenging for you. Um, Particularly those of you who this was all about finding out something being revealed to you that you thought was one thing, but in fact turned out to be something else. But it's always better to know if the foundation is cracked and unstable, then anything you build on that is not going to last. And we want to have things in our life that last and that are good and healthy and strong. So death, transformation, the ground being cleared. Death is paired with the Fool card, which is new beginnings, the beginning of the beginnings, the breath before the first step. The energy of the Fool card represents actually that time, that space in between something coming to a complete end and then something new beginning a new path, beginning a new chapter of your life. The Fool is that energy of in between, where you're considering what the possibilities are. They're limitless, infinite. Anything's possible, everything's possible. The Fool is here to remind us that while it is good to have a destination, it's perfectly appropriate and wise and expected to have goals and to work for those goals and to work towards those goals. The Fool understands that the true value and joy and lessons to be learned are actually in the journey itself, not so much in being goal focused and destination oriented, although we do have a direction in which we're going and goals we're working for. The Fool knows that it's really about the journey, each step of the journey, what we learn, the joys, the sorrows, the failures, the triumphs, all of that are lessons learned as we evolve as human beings, which is why we're here. It's about what we learn on the way to reaching the end. That's the importance. And the Fool is also here to remind us that it is perfectly all right and sometimes necessary to step off the beaten path, take a risk, do something we've never done before in order to achieve these new beginnings and start something absolutely brand new and fresh that is completely new to us. So, chapters ending, and you're in that in between place now. You're getting ready to start something else, to build and grow something else in a pretty big way. So pretty exciting, but it can also be kind of intimidating and overwhelming and scary sometimes as well. It looks like there is some grieving and some healing too still from whatever this ending is. Some of you, it will vary in intensity, of course. For some of you, this is going to be a mild thing, and for others of you, this is going to be something that was quite emotionally challenged, which will require a fair amount of healing. Again, there's a lot of you watching, so it's gonna resonate differently. Now, at or towards the end of January 2017, Virgo, we have the energy of the Five of Cups, followed by the Two of Wands. So it looks like at the end of the month, there may be a temptation, or the challenge will be in dwelling too much on the negative of what's just passed or ended, which is understandable because endings can be difficult, particularly for those of you for whom this was a very difficult ending or cutting off. Maybe you discovered some things that really took you off guard or left you feeling betrayed. There has been an ending and a closure. But it looks like at the end of January, for some of you, there may be a challenge in dwelling too much on the past, on what's happened, on perhaps what you no longer have in your life, what the removal or the walking away from has been. That's what the Five of Cups represents. I sometimes call it the crying over spilt milk card. And it's not to say that loss and grief needs time to be honored and acknowledged and some time spent in healing. But there does come a time where it's time, it's enough. It's time to stand up and dust ourselves off and turn around and face the future and start moving forward. You can see that this man is kneeling down in this grass, and he's completely focused on these three goblets, which are tipped over and spilled out. All of his attention, mental and emotional attention and focus, is on these three cups, which are tipped over. And these three cups are symbolic for something he's lost or something he feels has been taken away from him, some kind of grief or loss, something in the past. But this isn't whatever it is that this represents for you that has come to an end. But this isn't the Three of Cups, it's the Five of Cups. Right behind this man are these two beautiful golden goblets, which are upright, full, beautiful. And they represent things that are still in his life, still in his environment, which are blessings that he's not acknowledging or even seeing because he's turned away from them. His back is turned to them. His attention is only on the past, only on what he's lost, that grief, that loss, that anger, that bitterness, whatever it is. And he's missing some things which are still remaining in his life and in his environment, which are beautiful, that he can still be grateful for. And these two cups also represent potential opportunities which he could miss out on because his attention is focused only on the negative, on what he's lost. This card, the energy of this card, the advice of this card is that there comes a time where it's time for closure. It's time to put it to rest, not put any more energy into feeding that and move on into the future. Take what good you can, take the lessons that you've learned and move forward into the future so that you don't get stuck in this energy, because it's going to be important in moving forward. And it looks like for some of you, towards the end of January, there may be a challenge in spending too much time dwelling on that. But remember that there are still blessings in your life, still people that care about you. You still have a bright new future in front of you and opportunities which are coming. We can't look in two directions at once. If we're looking backwards, that's where our attention is. If we're looking present and future focused, that's where our attention is and that's where our energy is going. So there comes a time where it's time to move on. So be conscious of that and try not to feed more into that energy than is necessary for healing. Now, that Five of Cups is paired with the Two of Wands. The Two of Wands is about moving forward into the future. We're still at the beginning here at the Two of Wands. We're starting to build, to rebuild, to go into a new direction, start something new again. You're at a crossroads and it's time to choose a path, make a decision. Where am I going to go from here? Which is what this man on this card is considering. Now, the key to choosing the right path with the Two of Wands is in long-term thinking, long-term planning, long-term vision. It's not about, okay, what do I want next week or next month? Choosing the right path here, because we're at the beginning, there's still a ways to go. So we want to think down the road. Where do you want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Set your long term goals, and that will make the path easier to choose because only one of these paths is going to lead towards those long term goals. What's your big picture? What are you working for ultimately down the road? And then you set your small goals working along those, and the path becomes easier to see once you figure out where the actual end point is, where the destination is. So, with the Two of Wands, it's about kind of pulling your energy out of this more immediate focus of what's just happened and what's been lost, and what's going to help you move forward and make the healing process easier and swifter for you is to look ahead. What do you want in the future, and choose a path that propels you towards that. Meaning, make sure that the decisions you make and that the actions you take and that what you do in your day-to-day life keeps moving you towards that long-term goal. That's the key to knowing which path to choose here. And that Five of Cups will slow you down or keep you stuck there. So we want to reverse the energy of that Five of Cups. And what you're going to find helpful is in looking forward, looking ahead, what you want down the road, and setting your goals to get there, and making sure that day to day you do things that continuously move you closer to that overall general sense of healing, of moving away from what's been a troubled, turbulent, chaotic, for some of you even an emotionally painful time. Your overall energy and advice from the bottom of the deck is the Six of Swords. This is a card of recovery, of healing, of rest and respite. In other tarot decks, this this is depicted as sometimes the water behind the boat is very choppy and wavy and turbulent, and the water in front of the boat, which she's headed into, is very smooth and placid and serene. It's transitional energy, meaning that the the really bad part of it is over. You've made this closure, even though it was very difficult, it looks like for some of you. And of course, it's going to vary in intensity depending on who you are, your natal chart, etc. Uh, but the energy of the Six of Swords is that that part is over. So that's here's the difficult challenge, whatever this was that it represented for you. And then there's the place over here where the healing is over, and you're fine now, you're healed, you've moved on with life. The energy of this card is that in between time. You're moving away though. It's a positive card. It has a quieter, more somber kind of feel to it, but it's still positive and healing. You're moving out of that challenge, that pain, that whatever brought about that closure, and you're moving into and towards a period in your life which is going to be more settled and peaceful and serene. Restoration and healing energy in this card. Lovely positive energy. The only cautionary advice with the Six of Swords, Virgo, is she is carrying these six swords with her when she's leaving. Wherever you go, there you are. So make sure too, when you look ahead and start moving ahead, whatever the situation is. And I think for some of you, part of what it was finding out that you were lied to or betrayed in some way. And in the healing process, make sure to the best of your ability, to try to leave the bitterness and resentment and anger behind as you move forward, because if you carry it with you, um, it will be an impediment to you. So try to take the value of the lessons learned, and what good you can from the experience, and leave as much of the negative energy behind, so that you can, so that as you move forward, it can be a real true healing experience for you as you move forward into the future. And keep your eyes fixed on that goal as you move forward. That's going to help keep you from getting stuck in the past in whatever it was that's occurred for you. So really, really nice reading. I like seeing this progression. I'm sorry always to see painful challenges and having to put difficult, challenging closures on things, particularly when, it's come at the cost of having to say goodbye to people we cared about, because it's just not good for us or healthy for us to have them in our lives anymore. But it looks like you're moving through this, and you are moving ahead and healing. And make sure you keep focused on that, and you're going to be just fine, Virgo. So that pretty much sums up your reading for January 2017. I hope you have enjoyed it and that you have found it useful and helpful in some way. Again, if any of you are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me, or as a gift for a friend, family, or loved one, or if you're interested in the year overview, uh, feel free to email me at Maggie, the number one, McGuire at gmail.com. I would be delighted to work with you. I will see you all again in a couple of weeks for the January 2017 mid-month readings. And until then, as always, Virgo, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. And I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.